Welcome to the Workamper Show, brought to you by Workamper.com. This podcast helps you discover how to finance your RV travel dreams. Each one of our episodes will introduce you to people who are already living the RV lifestyle or to work camping opportunities all around the U.S. You'll also learn how to hit the road the right way and make the most of every opportunity. Now let's turn over today's show to your host, Greg Gerber.
Today I'm speaking with a solo RVer who's been on the road for many years, but completed 1 year of travel that really broke her open, so much so that she wrote a book about her experiences. Today's episode is sponsored by Workamper News. Much more than just a job listing website, when you put the tools of this professional service into action, you'll find out just how easy it can be to turn your work camping dreams into reality. A Workamper membership opens the door to a one-stop shop for all things work camping. Being the original resource for work camping, you'll find the largest number of job listings, be able to connect with a community of work campers, and view resources compiled by experts who've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for many years. If you're serious about leading a successful and enjoyable work camping lifestyle, then membership is for you. Join today at www.workcamper.com. Embark on new adventures today with the support of Workamper News behind you. Kristy Halvorsen is a solo traveler whose journey has taken her across every state in the nation, nearly every Canadian province, and some of the most remote places in North America. Kristy spent almost 9 years living and traveling full-time in a 28-foot Airstream and embracing a lifestyle she describes as coddywampling. It's a term which means traveling without a fixed destination or detailed plan. In this episode, Kristy shares stories from what she calls the most transformative year of her travels. It was a journey that inspired her book titled Perfect Unfolding: 7 Years of Life-Changing Solo Adventure, 1 Year That Broke Me Open. Along the way, she traveled to Labrador and Newfoundland and faced serious health challenges while camping alone in remote wilderness areas. Kristy discovered valuable lessons about resilience, trust, and the kindness of strangers. Kristy also talks about the realities of solo travel, what she's learned from nearly a decade on the road, and why she believes some of life's greatest adventures begin when we stop trying to control every detail. Whether you're already a full-time RVer, considering hitting the road yourself, or simply looking for inspiration to pursue a dream, I think you'll find plenty of encouragement in this conversation. Kristy made an appearance earlier on this show in December 2022, so to give us an update on her adventures, to tell us more about her book, please welcome Kristy Halvorsen to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Kristy. I really appreciate it. A couple of years ago, you were on this show and we were talking about coddywampling. And
Yes.
you've been halfway through your adventure at that point. And
Yep.
what have you been doing to update us on all the stuff that you've been visiting and seeing and doing and writing about?
I continued my cottywomple, that's for sure. Man, I went on so many adventures, and then the biggest one was I meandered. If anyone doesn't know what cottywampling means, it just means living and traveling without really knowing where you're going, which is truly how I live. I don't have an itinerary or plan. And yeah, the most incredible year of all of my adventures happened since I talked to you last. And I found myself where the roads end on the Atlantic coast in Labrador and decided to go even further north than that, and ended up with an Inuit guide in the middle of the Labrador Sea in a 19-foot boat with a 50-gallon drum of gas in the back seat. And I wasn't in my RV, it was parked at the ferry dock, but that whole sequence of events that 1 year was so incredible. I went to Labrador, Newfoundland, ended up going all the way out west to California by the year end. I had to write a book about it. But I did that. That was 1 year. My mom got really sick, and another thing that most work campers know is what's nice about living on wheels is when someone needs help, you can just go. So
That's
I spent
right.
almost a year and a half in North Florida, and I took mom out for a few trips here and there and went on my own a few times, but mostly stayed in North Florida for about a year and a half, helping take care of her. And then she passed, but it was a blessing in disguise. But she passed in January, and then I took care of her estate and everything. And then in March, I hit the road, and I've been traveling again since March. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
That's neat. I know that you have a map in your book, or you sent me a map earlier that shows that you've gone to all
Yes.
four corners of the United States. plus that big loop in northeastern Canada. So that sounds like a big adventure. How many miles was that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't keep track of miles, but that one year, the adventure you're talking about, which you can maybe put that in the show notes. It was the furthest I've ever gone in the year. It was incredible, coast to coast and all the way up into Labrador. So yeah, I don't know the distance. I don't keep track. But what's fun is in the whole 9 years that I've been on the road, almost 9 years, I've been to every state and all but the very northern Canadian provinces. There's 3 across the top. Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and one other one that starts with an N. Other than that, I've been to all of the Canada and all of the U.S.
Wonderful. That would be a great experience. What kind of RV did you have that took you on this big adventure?
I have a 2002 Airstream.
Okay.
28 foot, and I pull it with a Ram 2500.
Okay.
And yeah, so yeah, that's my rig.
Super. And it was comfortable enough because you travel by yourself, no pets or people with you.
No, I have people come and visit sometimes. In the book, I have somebody with me for a little while, but I'm a truly solo traveler. And I don't run in packs very often. So I'm truly usually by myself, but I meet people along the way. But yeah, plenty of room. It feels like a New York apartment. If I ever, and I'm sure I will eventually grow roots and settle down, but it's got to be a tiny house. I will never want a large house again after living in 200 square feet. It's so simple.
That's right. I remember that was surprising to me when I was full-timing a couple of years ago that I had to downsize, but the downsizing was so freeing. And it was nice not to have that accumulated stuff just clogging every nook and corner of your, you still have that because you have limited space in an RV, but it is nice not to have to worry about all of that.
It is. It's really nice.
What's the favorite place that you visited on this trip?
When you say this trip, do you mean in the 9 years?
On this adventure, this 1 year adventure.
Oh, the 1 year adventure in the book. Oh my goodness. I would say it's a tie between Labrador and Newfoundland. And Labrador and Newfoundland are actually one province, but they're 2 completely separate locations. But for 2 different reasons, those were my favorite. And if I were to go back in my RV, I would go back to Newfoundland. I could go there a whole summer and it'd probably not be long enough. That Newfoundland truly has been one of the most amazing places I've visited anywhere in the world. It was incredible. And it's highly welcoming to boondockers. What I found is, as long as you're not blocking a driveway or a major road, like you're pretty much free. I always ask permission from a local. It's not even their land, but I'm like, hey, do you mind? And they're like, yeah, sure. So it was the most beautiful free-for-all of just wandering around and parking in vacant places and beautiful scenery. And the people are incredible. So yeah, if you haven't been to Newfoundland in your RV yet, put it on your list. It's incredible.
That's neat. You didn't have any problem with roads and things like that being that far north?
The main Canadian highway, I forget the name of it, but the number 1 goes across Trans-Canadian Highway. That one is great. But then a lot of, if not most of the offshoot roads, you got to go really slow. I found out I got really good gas mileage while I was there because I was traveling so slow because the roads are just not in pristine condition. But as long as you go slow and you're not in a hurry, which you can't be, it's a lovely place to tour. But yeah, the roads sometimes can be a little iffy.
They used to say that you pick your rut carefully because you're going to be in it for 1,000 miles. Is that true?
Somewhat. I would say northern Quebec, trying to get to Labrador, was probably the worst I've ever experienced in my whole time of being on the road. The paved roads were actually worse than the dirt in Quebec. Quebec had 150 miles of gravel road, and I got to the gravel and I was like, oh my God, this is freaking heaven. Because the paved roads, I would have rather just dig them up. But yeah, Newfoundland was not that bad. And while we're talking about it, Labrador had incredible roads. Labrador was awesome. There's no problems in Labrador. Newfoundland's iffy. Northern Quebec, make sure you don't close your mouth all the way or lose a tooth.
Now, Canada doesn't really have a work camping program. They don't have a lot of places that hire work campers.
Oh, really? I should know that.
What did you do to support yourself on the road?
I've been doing the same thing for the whole time I've been on the road, and that's I do mentoring, coaching, and consulting. And so that's, I love it. It doesn't feel like work. I feel like I've been retired this whole time. Though I do work, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. So it's been funding my adventure in my life.
What kinds of things do you mentor people on, or do you specialize in an area?
My specialty is life in general. So it's been fun. Everyone from executives to stay-at-home parents to young people in college, you name it, to people that might be having anxiety or depression, to people happy with their life and they just, I don't know, want to explore. It's all of the above. But the main thing we always get into is who we are and how life works. And whenever we settle down and get really quiet and peaceful with wherever we're at and happy with where we're at, or at least content, then anything's possible. So the conversation is remarkably similar through different topics with everyone I work with.
Do you find your clients just on the road, people who want to talk, or do you have an online presence that attracts people?
I don't have an online presence because, I don't know, I really like living life and not talking about living life or publicizing it. Everybody's like, you should have a YouTube channel, but I don't. But my clients generally come from word of mouth. Early on in my business, I put a lot of work into public speaking and networking events and that kind of thing. But for probably the last 7 or 8 years, it's been almost completely word of mouth. And then occasionally I'll just meet someone out while I'm out doing my thing and they'll be interested.
Are you working with both men and women?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yep. Men and women in all ages. I think 17 is my youngest I've done and upper 80s were my oldest. So I've got a pretty good range.
Wow, that's quite a life experience that you are counseling people on. So that's new. And having all of
fun.
this, travel experiences, I'm sure helps you in that endeavor as well by opening you up to different things to talk about.
Yes. And you know what? One of the lines in my book that actually several people have written me about is my book. It's probably written better than the book. I'm not going to get it exactly correct, but it's everyone I've met has altered the hem and fit of my soul.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And when I choose. Yeah. Go ahead.
You're right. Everybody you meet leaves an impact in some way.
Yes. And I am a completely different person than I was when I started this whole journey in 2017 because of all the people and the places and the things I've seen and done and understood. And then too, my clients love when we get online because usually they just see the Airstream behind me, the background, and they're always like, where are you at? Because you never know where I am.
That's right. When I was full-timing, I had posted a daily newsletter and I put where Greg Gerber is at that particular time. Where is Greg today kind of thing. And a lot of people enjoyed it because when they saw me traveling so quickly across the country, they're like, are you headed our way? We're only about 3 hours away. I'd love to connect with you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. The subtitle of your book is interesting. 7 years of life-challenging solo adventure, 1 year that broke you open. What? How were you broken open by this adventure?
This year, which was the year I went to Labrador and Newfoundland and down the East Coast and then completely across to the West. And it wasn't so much where I was, it was people I met. And through the people I met, what I started to understand about myself. I felt like that's what broke open was me. And it starts off with a pretty dramatic scene. If you want to go on Amazon, you can send a sample, either the Audible or the Kindle. But I crashed my mountain bike in the middle of nowhere in Newfoundland and totally mangled my finger. And I didn't even realize, once I got the finger corrected, then I realized exactly how injured I was. But within about a week of that, I thought I was going to be like Michael McLandris in Into the Wild. I was thinking, great, my poor stream is going to smell because I'm going to die in here. And so I had to live through being in a place with no cell service, being hurt, then getting sick, then being on death's door by myself in the wilderness. And you see a lot about yourself through that and through getting through it. And then just relationships and people I met along the way. There were things that were incredibly beautiful learnings, and then there were things that were incredibly difficult, but in a beautiful way I learned from them too. And so that's not only the things I saw in the people I met, but what I saw about myself is what broke me open that year.
That's life. The good and the bad comes together. So were you truly at death's doorstep?
I thought I was. And I was laying in my bed and I was so sick. I was sick. I had a broken rib, maybe more than one, that clicked when I breathed. Every time I took a breath, it was like click. And I'm a paramedic. That was my previous career. And I realized I'm like, I have pneumonia really bad. And I couldn't even sit up. If I sat up, I feel like I was going to faint. And I was just like, I might actually die here. And I just remember sitting in bed and like I said, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to be like Into the Wild, except I didn't need poison plants.
Sure.
But yeah, and it was like 30 seconds of, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And then instantly I was like, wow, speaking of adventure, I can't wait to see what this is going to be like. It's like the great unknown. Nobody's ever actually come back. There's been near death, but nobody's actually died and said, hey, here what's happened. So I was actually got a little giddy thinking, wow, this is going to be so cool. And then I fell into a deep sleep and slept a quite a long time. And I woke up and my fever had broken. And I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm going to make it. And then I was happy that I was going to live. But then there was probably several weeks, almost a month recovery to where I was back to normal from that point. But yeah, it was really close to being a smelly RV.
Yeah, that would be scary because a lot of people do love to travel alone. And when they run into problems like that, they wonder, who's going to find me? Or how can I get help? Did you have any problems getting help when you needed it?
I could have gotten help, but there was nothing really to do. I was just really sick. And I'd heard that the medical system in Newfoundland is not very great. And so I actually Googled the closest hospital in Maine. And it was something ridiculous, like 24 hours plus a 6-hour ferry. And I was like, I can't even get to the living room, which is only 10 feet away. There's no way. So I was just like, you know what? I've had a great life. So there was really no one to ask for help, but I could have gotten help if I wanted it, but I was really like, I don't know. I just think I'm just going to roll with this. But that's also in the book about how many times I needed help and without asking, it came.
That's nice. Yeah. A lot of people would think you're a solo woman out there traveling to the very edges of civilization. Did you experience any other problems similar to that? Maybe with your rig or things like that really tested your skills and patience?
Anybody that RVs knows that's number one on our list. We get our patience tested often. So yeah, my patience was seriously tested, I'm sure, lots of times. But I've had major mechanical stuff go wrong. And it's, in the beginning, I was a learning person, learning how to take care of my rig and myself. And through the years, I feel like almost everything that could break has, so I feel much more confident now.
Okay.
So like a few things went wrong on that trip that one year, but it was nothing major. I even lost a part of my RV, which is in the book. And I don't want any spoilers, but I lost a piece of my rig and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And and in Labrador, there's no ordering stuff. There's no Amazon. So when you lose a piece of your rig that's vital, you're on the side of the road and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So yeah, your patience is tested. But to me, something else I've learned through these almost 9 years is how resilient everything is. Me, my rig, if we just put one foot in front of the other, eventually something happens and we either figure it out or somebody else comes along that figures it out or something happens. What used to seem like the end of the world and felt like it was going to break me, now it's just an unfortunate scenario.
Did you have to take any training to learn how to fix your own rig?
If you count YouTube University, yeah, thankfully, I have 2 cell phone boosters. I have 2 cell services. I have Verizon and AT&T. And for my work, I have to stay connected. So I've learned how to stay connected. And even when there is no service, I just find it. Hopefully I can drive, I can get there and then go back to where I need to fix my rig. But yeah, so YouTube has been just amazing. And then the kindness of strangers. So many times, because people know when somebody's in distress. You drive by, whether they're got a flat tire in their bicycle or they're on the side of the road in an RV, you're like, that person might need some help. And it's amazing when you're out in the middle of nowhere, how many people stop to check on you. So thankfully, everything's just worked out.
That must be a Canada thing, because if you were out in the middle of nowhere here in the United States, people just fly by at 90 miles an hour instead of 75.
There's also a story in my book of Maine. I had an unfortunate incident where I thought my rig was going to fall off a mountain. I pulled off on a very soft shoulder that looked hard. And the same thing happened. This wonderful woodsy backwoods Maine guy pulled up and I couldn't believe it, but he hauled my entire rig out of being stuck and on the edge of a very large drop off. And he just helped me. And he just showed up. I call them my angels. There's my road angels.
You call those God experiences.
Yes.
It just can't explain it, but it happened at just the right time.
Exactly. So that guy in Maine, he wasn't from Canada, and he was a lifesaver, literally. I thought my house was going to tumble off a hill. But yeah, things like that just happen. And I don't know. People ask me about this conversation about fixing things and being in situations where things go wrong, and also about safety. And for some reason, everything just always works out,
You certainly learned to confront your biggest fears, I'm sure, when you were on the road and that you were challenged all the time. But then when things like this sort of happen, it makes you less concerned, it would seem like to me, and more willing to just go with the flow and not have to have your entire life organized. Is that where you were?
It's exactly where I am. And that's what Kadiwampling is all about, is just trusting life. And like when I realized how stuck I was, and even in 4-wheel drive, every time I tried, the rig got closer to the edge of the drop off. I wasn't all calm and cool and collected. I was literally shaking. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I knew the best thing was to do nothing. And then within a few minutes, here comes my angel. And then a few minutes later, I can really tell that he knew what he was up to. And I was just like, thank goodness. And so it went from literally shaking, thinking, what did I just do, to everything being fine. So it's not that everything feels fine all the time. It's just that even in the hardest parts, there's some part of me deep down that knows somehow it's all going to work out, even if working out means my house tumbles off a hill.
It seems like there's going to be some sort of correlation between independence and interdependence, where you rely on other people. Is that true?
Yes, that's one of the biggest learnings I had from that year. And thank you for bringing that up, because I really understood that being independent isn't what we think it is. That there's a beautiful dance, an interrelationship, of symbiosis of independence and interdependence, because we're all so connected. And I'm glad you just talked about the guy on the side of the road in Maine, but that was a beautiful example of independence and interdependence. I could not have solved that on my own. I don't care who I was.
A lot of people say they would just like to escape it all and go off and live on their own. I don't think they can do it. I think they do need other people in some way to help them in their lives. Even the gentleman that you suggested in the movie that you talked about was Out in the Wild.
Yes,
he
Into
needed
the Wild.
people in his story as well at certain times.
He did. And you know what's interesting is, long ago, before I even thought I'd ever own an RV, that was my favorite movie of all time. And I realized later, after I'd gone full-timing and I happened to watch it again, I realized that movie, it's just about people. You think it's about him and his adventures, which it is, but the trueness of that movie and that story is about all the people that came together to not only help him and him help them, but all the love and connection shared. And I can completely relate to that's what my journey has been about too.
And you had the opportunity to serve your mom in a similar way, right? To go traveling with her and to give her an outstanding experience and memory in the last months of her life.
Yes. And even before, in 2022, she hopped in with me and didn't realize it, but we left Florida and we traveled all the way to California and halfway back. And it was like a 3-month journey. And that was one of the coolest and most intimate experiences I've ever had with my mom. She got to feel what it's like to leave vacation mode and fall into what, if you've ever full-time, you know that there's a difference between vacation and what we do.
Yep.
And unless you live this life, I don't think it's possible to understand the feeling of freedom and what it's like to full-time.
That's right.
And so for my mom to have that experience with me in those 3 months, it was incredible.
I would imagine living in close quarters like that with anybody really forces you pretty much to get to know people intimately and to really know them more differently than you would in casual acquaintances or encounters in the regular day-to-day life.
Yeah, you do. I've had several people come and stay for longer stays in my RV. I'm not talking about 2 or 3 days. I'm talking longer stays. But there comes a point where you don't even care about shutting the bathroom door. You're just like, whatever. We're here. We're doing this. But you learn a lot about yourself and others being in that close quarters for a long period of time. And even though sometimes some of it might be difficult, I feel like it's a step towards freedom for all who are involved, because it forces you to see life through another's eyes. You don't have to, but there'll probably be some arguments if you don't.
That's right. So what would you say to women who have been contemplating going on the road by themselves, but have been held back by fear, the uncertainty of what could go wrong and things like that? What advice would you have for them?
I would say there's nothing wrong with being concerned about what could go wrong, but life isn't lived through that mentality. Our brain has been over centuries designed to protect us. And so it makes up stories about the future and then gets us scared.
That's right. And 90% of the stuff we worry about never comes true, right?
I would say it's even closer to 99.5% of the stuff we worry about never comes true. So my advice, which thankfully someone kicked me in the butt in a really loving way to help me get on the road, is you got to just go do it. And it's not like you're marrying the road till death do you part. Who knows? It could be 2 months and it could be 20 years. You have no idea. But even if it's only for 2 months, you're going to come out a changed person and you'll realize how capable you are.
Exactly. So that would be a big eye-opening experience, I'm sure. So
yes.
Do you have any advice for people as to whether they should even jump into this lifestyle? You're going into it blind. You learn to bring in income on your own through your counseling and your mentoring and things like that. But other people think that they need to have every single detail planned. Do they to get started?
No.
No.
In fact, I had this massive plan. I was actually taped to a wall in my old house. It was like probably 10 feet long and 5 or 6 feet tall. And I had everything I thought I needed to do to get on the road on it. And thankfully, I had a mentor who was like, when are you going to tear that thing off the wall? Life doesn't work like that. You can't plan everything out.
Exactly. Because as soon as you get everything planned, the next thing shows up.
Exactly. To me, either your heart has to be in it or you have to have something pulling you. When I say something, for me, it was an internal desire. I didn't even understand. I'm like, this sounds nuts to me. I don't know why, but it feels like I need to do this. Like there was an internal tugging. So if you think you're gonna do it to go be an Instagram sensation, I would save your sanity and just find something else fun to put on Instagram. Because it is not for the faint of heart. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. So your heart has to be in it. And another piece of advice is it's probably going to be very hard in the beginning. It was for me. The whole first year was a poop show. And I'm glad I stuck with it because a lot of people have seen me now that I've been doing this since 17. So a lot of people have reached out to me and they're like, they started full-time because of what I've been doing. And most of them didn't make it through the first year. But I feel if you can make it through year one and you get all the kinks worked out and you figure things out for yourself, for your rig, you start understanding even how you like to live. I was really unhappy the first year because I was staying in RV parks and I thought that's what you did.
Right.
But then by accident, I started realizing how much I enjoyed living off grid. And so now that's what I very rarely ever stay in an RV park, like maybe once or twice a year in an emergency situation. But it took me a year to figure that out. And so it might take you a year to figure out what you like. So if you can make it through year one, then I feel like you can make a sound decision of whether you want to continue. And then two, I'm not saying you have to do it for a year. If you want to go do it for 6 months, go for it. But just know it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.
Absolutely. How can people connect with you if they would like to follow your journey or even ask you some questions?
Sure. I have my book website. It's perfectunfolding.com. And there's a wonderful 90-second trailer that gives you a snapshot about the book, what the book's about. And then my Instagram is Kristy.Halvorsen. And then my mentoring and coaching website is KristyH.com.
Kristy H is just the letter?
Yep.
Okay. Super. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. I really appreciate it. I know other people are envious because they would like to do what you've been doing. And what's next? Where are you going to go from here?
I'm in New Hampshire right now. My Airstream is going to the Airstream doctor tomorrow. I'll be in this area until August, and then I'm heading to North Dakota.
North Dakota in August. Okay.
Yes.
That's a pretty fun time. Are you going to do any of the traditional work camping jobs and things like that, like the beet harvest?
No, I feel sad saying this on the Workamper show, but I've never work camped. I've only done my business. But no, I'm just going out there. I got a big Airstream rally I'm going to go to out there, and then I'm going to go to the Balloon Fiesta in New Mexico in October.
I'm jealous. I lived in New Mexico for about 4 years and only got up there for a day, maybe 2.
Wow.
And it is quite the experience.
Yeah, I've never been.
Okay. You going to try and get on a balloon crew and go up?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I'm just going to go check it out for, I think, 3 or 4 days. And then who knows, in between those 2 places in New Hampshire, I'm just going to be out in the wilderness doing who knows what.
Where can people get your book?
It's on Amazon. So it's on Audible because a lot of us roadies like listening.
That's right. That would be a great book to listen to when you're out adventuring. It give you a lot
I
of...
tell you what, especially for people that RV, through the entire book, I've peppered in tips and advice and things that you would want to know. But yeah, so you go on Amazon, it's on Audible, Kindle, and paperback.
Super. Thank you again. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you, Greg. It's been a pleasure.
What I enjoyed most about my conversation with Kristy Halvorsen was hearing how nearly 9 years of full-time travel have shaped her perspective on life. Her stories remind us that the road is about much more than just destinations. It's about the people we meet, the challenges we overcome, and the personal growth that comes from stepping outside our comfort zones. Kristy shared how some of her most difficult moments, from mechanical breakdowns to serious illness in remote locations, ultimately taught her resilience and trust. She also offered a refreshing reminder that independence does not mean doing everything alone. Instead, true freedom often comes from recognizing how interconnected we all are and why we must be willing to accept help when it arrives. For anyone considering a full-time RV lifestyle, Kristy noted you do not need every detail figured out before you begin. Start the journey, give yourself time to learn, and allow the experience to reveal what kind of traveler you want to become. If you'd like to learn more about Kristy, her travels, or her book, visit perfectunfolding.com. You can also find her on Instagram and learn more about her mentoring and coaching services at KristyH.com. This episode was sponsored by Workamper News. If you have more questions and answers when it comes to the work camping and RVing lifestyle, then Workamper News can help. Listen to their free work camping Q&A videos to get your questions answered. Each video answers questions submitted by folks just like you who are learning about the RV lifestyle, just getting started, or have been work camping for a while. The videos cover topics like what kind of work camping jobs are out there, what do those jobs pay, tips for writing your work camper resume, questions to ask an employer, what type of RV is best, how to get your mail as an RVer, and much more. Listen to detailed answers now by watching the videos at workcamper.com/answers. In the description of each video, you'll find a list of questions that were answered so you can quickly jump to the answers you want to hear. Check out the free Work Camping Q&A videos to get your questions answered today. That's all for this week's show. Next time, we'll be speaking with another work camper who is in her 2nd season of work camping in Alaska with her husband and 3 children. I'll have that interview in the next episode of The Work Camper Show. Thank you for listening. If you like this interview, please share it with someone contemplating the work camping lifestyle.